hello, friends, and welcome to the Imago Nutrition Podcast, where we answer your questions and give you practical nutrition strategies to help you and your family flourish. And speaking of family, Danielle, y'all are snowed in right now up there at in the St. Louis area, or at least you're having a snow day. So you got little ones running around the house that might scream something while we record this podcast. But how are you guys faring up there in the snowy, more northern part of the country?
We are doing well. I can't believe this is 3 snow days in a row. I think that's a record in a row that we've experienced since they've been in school. So they are totally enjoying it, sledding and currently building an ice igloo. So
I saw the pictures from yesterday, I think it was, and they were stacking up a wall, like making an igloo or whatnot.
Yes.
And the hilarious thing is that like 3 days is like a record. You guys are in Missouri, and I understand, like I'm from Illinois and Minnesota and stuff, so I get this, but now I live in Tennessee, and you guys have like a record of 3 days. We've had like entire weeks for getting like an inch of snow. In fact, we had Monday off and we had 0 snow. There was just a chance that there was a flurry somewhere in America. So Williamson County, Tennessee was like, no school. So like, or was it yesterday? What day is this? It's Wednesday. So we had it yesterday. And so, yeah, it's hilarious down here in the South. So
they're back
stay
in school
safe.
today.
They're back in school today, but then I think we're actually going to get, we do sometimes get like a couple inches of snow. So I think we're actually supposed to get snow at the end of this week.
Yeah.
So I think we're planning on having another snow day on Friday. But plus the other thing is like, it'll get warm enough during the day that it'll just be rain. It'll be like in the 40s, but then it'll dip down to 30 at night and then just create that ice. And you've got, some rural roads with buses. And so I totally get it. I'm not bagging on it. That's why I say I love the South. I remember being in Minnesota and it'd be like 1 a.m. and you would hear the snow plows like scraping the roads, but down here we don't even have snow plows in the city, and so it's like in Minnesota, you'd wake up, you'd be like, it snowed. Oh, the roads are all clear, and it'd be like a foot of snow, but nope, you're going to school. Down here, much different. So
yes.
Anyways, good to see you. Coming off the holidays, this I believe is our first podcast in 2025. We did one right at the end of the year. And so coming off the holidays, we had a question that came into us and wanted to use it as a topic, as we often do. By the way, if you want to submit a question to have it possibly considered as a topic for a future episode, you could do that on our website. You can just go to imagonutrition.com/podcast. There's a form there that you could just fill out and submit your question, and we'll consider it as a possible topic for a future episode, because we love giving as much free value as we can from real people, real advice from real people to real problems that people are having. And so this is an example of that. We had an inquiry come in, and it was essentially this. It was, I have a problem controlling myself around sugar and sweets. And we all know coming out of the holidays, that can be a bit heightened this time of year. As we go into January, like, oh my gosh, I need to get back on eating better and working out. And, we've maybe been eating a lot more sugar, sweets, highly processed foods, myself included. So anyways, this question was, I've got this problem kind of controlling myself, because this is year round too. It's not just holidays. So I have a problem controlling myself around sugar and sweets. I find those to really be my sweet spot. I don't seem to know when to stop, even though I know how bad I feel after. And so if you're listening to this and you can identify at all with that, I know I can. I don't have this quote unquote perfect record. Danielle, I don't think you would assume you would either. We all have these bouts to varying degrees with highly palatable, delicious foods, and that can be any time of the year. It could be coming out of the holidays, whatever that is. And so we wanted to take a bit of time, and the good news for the listeners is I'm going to let Danielle do most of the talking. We get into the meat of this content. I might fly in with some obnoxious commentary or some sassy remark, but we'll see how it goes. And so with that, Danielle, I think is just a beautiful question, because so many people struggle with this, right? Like to just be open and honest and say, look, this is an area I struggle with. And the beauty I think that people are going to see is there's actually more freedom in this answer than you think. A lot of people think that it's about, okay, I need to stop eating sweets. And as we'll discuss, that's actually perpetuating some of this. So let me toss it over to you, if you don't mind. How do we begin thinking through this idea of, I've got a problem controlling myself around sweets? Help. I need some help.
Yeah. Well, I like to first to start off with what's our goal around sweets, are those foods that don't really nourish our body. And I have kind of three for you, three things to think about. The first one is just a healthy relationship with food in general, but especially with sweets or desserts. So we want to enjoy them without a sense of guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And this just takes practice and practice and practice, and also comes from knowing that the functions of food. We've maybe done only one, maybe we need to do more podcast on the functions of food, but food is designed to nourish our body, but it is also designed to be enjoyed. Otherwise, we wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
taste buds, there wouldn't be variety in our food if it
Yep.
wasn't meant to be enjoyed. So definitely just need a balance of that. If we're only eating out of purpose, that's not a healthy place to stay. We can get burnt out. And if we're only eating to enjoy food, again, that's not going to take care of our body and not a good place to stay. So we just
Mm-hmm.
really need a balance and a healthy relationship with these foods and all foods in general. Um, so that would be the first goal. The second one would be to know, what is the goal for added sugar for good health. And American Heart Association has a recommendation limiting added sugar to 6 teaspoons or less per day for women and children, and 9 teaspoons or less for men. And so you can see right there, the goal is not zero. So that is the great news. The goal is not zero.
Amen.
Um, and like you said, we'll talk about why that's not helpful to aim for zero. And the goal does not include natural sugar. So there's natural sugar in fruit. So there is
Mm-hmm.
no restriction on fruit. And there's natural sugar in dairy. So your cup of milk has sugar in it. Not the chocolate milk, the regular milk. So that sugar is called lactose. So we do not need to restrict lactose or fructose. But of course, dairy products do have added sugar in there. So that is what you're looking at. So you look at not the total sugars on the label, but the line right below which says how many grams of added sugar. And then
Mm-hmm.
you divide that number by 4 to get how many teaspoons. And that is how you can see how close you are to your goal. 6 for women and children, and 9 or less for men. So, did I talk that too fast?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. That was
All right.
perfect. Little bit of math in there, but not too much. Even someone like me could follow along. So.
All right. Great. And the last one, I would say the third goal is to think about a frequency right for you. And so having desserts every day creates a habit that you want them every day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I hear this all the time. I always have something sweet after dinner. Well, I love that. But that is making me crave it every day. And that is not helping me with my goals of, limiting added sugar, like I mentioned. And
Mm-hmm.
then the second part of that is when you're avoiding desserts, it creates this forbidden fruit phenomenon where you just want it more.
Yep.
So that finding a frequency is you have it infrequent enough that you don't crave it. So you're not having it every day, and frequent enough that you don't overindulge when you do have it. So there's that balance that we're aiming for. So the danger of not having it frequent enough is we can have lack of portion control when we're over restricting.
Yep.
So, anything you'd like to add there for those 3 goals?
No, I love that. And everything starts with the goals, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to get into it a little bit more because I think you've got some scenarios that we're going to talk through. So I might have a little bit more commentary there. But that idea of like balancing the pleasure and the purpose of food is so powerful. And just being mindful of that. And everything we talk about really is just thinking about your thoughts about food more. I mean, that's like 99% of the battle, to be honest. And so it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and so balancing that pleasure and purpose, taking a look at that added sugar, and then thinking about that frequency, because the more we habitualize something, the more it feels normal and becomes normal, and our body responds and acclimates. And so just being mindful of even that, and sort of, I hear that a lot too. And I've gone through seasons, and I still sometimes do, where I'm turning up my frequency, right? Ironically, for me personally, it's actually when I'm losing weight. I tend to have a dessert every night while I'm losing weight, because it's something I get to look forward to. It continues to show me that I can lose weight while still having desserts. But then I have to, kind of desensitize myself from that when I go back to more maintenance eating. So, I think that's such a good way to think about kind of the goals around desserts, and even just thinking that you should have goals around how you pursue food. Again, what we preach is pursuing food, not avoiding foods, but pursuing foods for a reason. And you can pursue desserts, right? Just like you can pursue vacations, but if you pursue vacation every single week of the year, you're probably going to go broke. Right. So we want to pursue those things in the right context to, achieve your goals in the long term. So love that. Couldn't have said it any better. And I think what you've got now for us is a couple scenarios that I think will be really practical and really resonate with people, because we've all, I think, fallen into one of these two main scenarios. So talk us through some of those.
Yes. So to get to these goals, like we mentioned, just practice and resets are very common for everyone, I think, because there's holiday at every corner. Like Valentine's Day is coming up. So if you have kids, there's going to be candy in your house again. And then there's Easter, and then there's candy in your house again. And so it's just like a reset, or just thinking about this, looking at your goals again, is really helpful to do it frequently and just to practice. And then before I go into these situations, I just want to say that everybody's situation is different. So like what foods you enjoy, your habits, your relationship with food, it really can make these steps to be more personalized. But, just for the, episode here of being general, we're going to go to two scenarios. So one is if you are currently restricting heavily, and you may be experiencing lack of control when you do have them. So similar to the question we presented at the top of the episode here. And then the second scenario is having desserts too frequently, and, not considering the health precautions of that. So with the first scenario, if you're restricting desserts too heavily, the first step is to take away that forbidden fruit phenomenon and to pick a frequency to have them. So if you're, avoiding them entirely, you might be thinking about them a lot. And we just want you to be mindful and select a frequency. Maybe it's 3 times a week, maybe it's 2 times a week. That just pick one and then go from there. And this would be paired with having fruit more often. Okay, fruit is naturally sweet, so it can really help with your goals of decreasing added sugar when you increase the sweetness that is naturally in our food. So I always recommend having fruit 1 to 2 times a day, especially when you have the desire to eat a dessert. Really dress up your fruits, like whipped cream on strawberries in the summer, or baked apples and whipped cream in the fall, or
baked peaches with cinnamon and a little bit of whipped cream. Oh my gosh. Yum. I'm sorry. We're down in the South. We're next door to Georgia. So yeah, 100%.
That sounds amazing. My friend has a fun idea. You take a single raspberry and put a single dark chocolate chip in it, in the center.
Oh yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. All day.
I like to make chocolate hummus, which is super easy. You just throw everything into like immersion blender or what have you. And you can put apples with that. Sometimes you can just use something like an all fruit popsicle. So there's so many different examples of how to dress up your fruit. But they can be just as rewarding. It just takes practice. Because at first you're like, no, this is not as rewarding as a brownie.
This is not dessert. This is a trick. This is fruit with a little bit of light whipped cream. It's not dessert, yes. but it is.
And it takes practice, yeah.
Yes. And we're going to have to do another episode on just this concept of practice. I think I've maybe said it on the podcast before. I think it's the most underrated, undervalued concept in nutrition is practice. Everything else in life that we expect to get better at, we practice it, right? Mm-hmm. And if we don't get better. We understand it's because we don't practice, except for food. Like I swear, it's just except for food. Like, how do I eat healthier, Mark and Danielle? Oh, practice. no, but seriously, like give me a meal plan. No. Like practice, like go out and make some mistakes, make some adjustments, get 1% better every day. Well, that doesn't sound right. I think I need to do keto. No, you need to practice, So
Yeah.
even with sweets, even with desserts,
Mm-hmm.
even this is like a bit of a mental game that you can play too. I'll tell myself, hey, there's ice cream and chocolate syrup in the shelf and all this sort of stuff and brownies and cookies. Tell you what, I'm gonna eat, like you said, I'm gonna eat a bowl of strawberries with a little bit of whipped cream first. And if after 20 minutes I'm not satisfied, I'll go eat some ice cream. It'll be fine. It's okay. I tell myself I can. But guess what happens 99% of the time? I eat those strawberries, a little bit of whipped cream, or some berries, even with like a vanilla yogurt, like Greek yogurt. Oikos has the 000 vanilla yogurt that I'll go put into a small bowl with some berries, and I'll eat that, knowing that, like, hey, if I still want more dessert, I can have it after this because I'm not restricting. But tell you what happens 99% of the time, I eat that little bit of yogurt and some berries. I'm like, oh, that's good. And now that's actually, honestly, candidly, I've been doing this a long time, but that's what I look forward to most now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not like, oh, I really want that, but I'm just eating this because I got to eat more fruit. No, I actually have trained and acclimated my taste buds to be satisfied and to look forward to those sort of foods. And that's what you want to do. So anyways, yeah, keep going.
Yeah, you kind of presented a couple different things, just falling in love with the foods that are good for your body.
Mm-hmm.
It takes practice and time. And then, when you do feel like you really just want that brownie, have that brownie. Like you
Yeah.
said, you're not restricting. And so that goes into our second scenario. So if you're having desserts too frequently, maybe you're having desserts every day because you were they were surrounding you during the holidays.
All holidays.
Um,
Yep.
Yes. So the first step here would just to be slowly decrease frequency. So maybe if you're having them every day, go to 4 times a week. Don't go from
Mm-hmm.
every day to twice a week. That is surefire to failure
Yep. Yep.
because you are just used to it. So you just really need to slowly decrease the frequency. And then this second tip is the same. You want to increase the fruit and dress up the fruit like we talked about to help when you aren't having the dessert. You can kind of put that in there, so it actually feels like you're still having dessert every day, but now you're having the fruit as part of the routine of your dessert habits. So,
100%.
yeah,
If I could do a little tangent here, there's an undercurrent that often is taking place, whether it's mentally, whether it's conversationally, around sweets. And if you don't mind, I'd like to be obnoxious and hit the nail on the head. I'm in online conversations every day. Okay. Every day I'm in online conversations. Every day I'm in in-person conversations. Every day, I'm in consultations. And this is a recurring theme that I hear over and over and over and over and over and over. One of the biggest myths about sugar is that it's addictive. Okay. We have been told by, wellness industry, it's trying to sell you some detox, which, by the way, sugar's not a toxin, so you can't detox a non-toxin. Okay. We've been told that it's addictive and that you are a victim of an addictive substance that is sugar. And that's why you need to cut it out, right? So it's like your hope for a cocaine addict would be that they consume zero, right? Not like, oh, all things in moderation, including cocaine. No, we're associating it with addictive substances that are bad and saying you should go from consuming it to not consuming it. I see this all the time on social. How do I quit sugar? My first question is, why do you need to quit sugar? Because I can't control myself around it. It's addictive. All right, let's talk about that. I've got 2 studies. I won't quote them entirely. I won't go through an entire synopsis. Maybe I'll drop the PMIDs in our show notes so you can go look up the studies yourself, read through them. I'm just going to pull a couple quotes from this on this idea that sugar is addictive and therefore it's an addictive substance, which is bad. Therefore, I should go away from it. Even if someone is saying, no, Mark, I get fruit. No, Danielle, I get like fructose and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about added sugar. It's an addictive substance and we should go down to 0. Okay. American Heart Association doesn't agree with that, right? We as, professionals don't agree with that. And here's what research says about this idea about addiction. And as per the research, quote, we find little evidence to support sugar addiction in humans. By the way, pro tip, we find little evidence is research speak for there's virtually none. Okay. Because there is some evidence for almost everything, right? Here's an example. There is some evidence that we never landed on the moon. It doesn't mean it's strong evidence, but there is some evidence. Oh, look at the way that the flag waves. But if there's no, that whole thing, there is some evidence for virtually anything, Question is it strong evidence? Is it multitude of evidence? Right? Is it human evidence? ... Okay. So when researchers say we find little evidence, they're basically saying there's no evidence, but they will never say that because there's always some. Okay. So we find little evidence to support sugar addiction in humans, and findings from animal literature suggests that addiction-like behaviors such as binging occur only in the context of intermittent access to sugar. So when these animals do get it, yes, they want to consume a lot of it because it's delicious. Okay. The researcher goes on, these behaviors likely arise from intermittent access to sweet tasting or highly palatable foods, not the neurochemical effects of sugar. That's PMID 27372453. Second one is this. The current findings indicate that sugary foods contribute minimally to, quote, food dependence and increased risk of weight gain. Instead, they are consistent with the current scientific notion that food energy density and the unique individual experience of eating plays an important role in determining the reward value of food and promoting excessive energy intake. PMID 28330706. So I want this to be freeing for you. The reason I hit that nail is because so many people fear it. They believe something incorrect about it. They try to overcorrect it. And ironically, that actually continues the vicious cycle of I'm going no sugar. And then Friday comes. Okay, well, I was good all week, so I'm going to have some sugar. And then shoot, I'm not going to be able to have it for another 6 days, or I haven't had it for 6 days. So I might as well just get it while I got it. Right. And that starts to take over. So all that's to say, that's my obnoxious rant for the episode. This idea that sugar, even added sugar, is addictive is not supported in the body of evidence. So the good news is it comes back to you being mindful and instilling some of these practices and these habits that we're talking about. Remember that habituation does not equal addiction. You may have habitualized sugar. It does not mean that you are addicted to sugar. And that's good news. Okay. All right. That's my rant, Danielle. Why don't
good.
you help wrap this thing up with some tips for folks to do?
Yeah. So just some general tips to think about around this topic is one, just don't waste calories on desserts that you don't love. That is, I think of it as like a budget. Obviously, we talk about this all the time. And so, if you're going to go buy a shirt, you're not going to buy a shirt that's just like, oh, it's okay. You're going to buy a shirt that you love, that you want to wear. So don't waste your calories on desserts that you just don't care for. And so that kind of naturally will put some parameters around desserts. Like for me, my parameter is I really just like desserts that are homemade. I really have no interest in eating a brownie from a store. I would much rather have a brownie homemade. So that will just help naturally put some parameters around desserts because you're not going to waste your time.
For me, it's just key lime pie. Yeah, I could be in a world of nothing but desserts, and if there's key lime pie, I'll say I'm not going to waste it on any of this other crap. I'm just going to eat key lime pie.
That's so
but
fun.
that's what I like. That's what I go after. Right? Choose the good ones. Choose what you love.
Yeah, that's right. Second would do not eat your dessert in front of screens, your phone or your TV, because you will eat that and be like, wait, I kind of want some more because you were distracted on your phone or the TV. So really make sure you're fully present when you are eating a dessert so you can really enjoy every bite. So third, make sure you're getting adequate protein and fiber throughout the day. Okay, so this is obviously goes without saying, but if you are hungry and you want desserts, that's going to make it a little harder to control your portions. So you want to make sure you're feeling satisfied throughout the day and not overly hungry when you get to desserts. So
that's a big one.
The next one is go to bed early. Okay. Most often there's cravings at night, and it's actually your body saying, I am tired or I am bored. So eating at night is just often mindless. And so just being aware of, am I hungry? And why do I feel hungry? Am I hungry because I'm normally eating at this time? Am I hungry because I'm bored or tired? So, physical mind hunger versus physical hunger. Take an assessment of those things before you eat.
Can I add something to that? This is something I've never shared with anyone. This is a trick that I have used. I don't know how long now. Okay. 10, 12, 15, I don't know how many long I've used this. I've never talked about it.
Wow.
I don't even think I've given this in person to a client before. I've never written in an article. I don't think I've ever mentioned it. I'm 99% sure I've never even mentioned it on this podcast. Okay. Sometimes when it's like 8 o'clock, I've had my dinner. Maybe I had, even what I would have considered like a small dessert afterwards or something like that. And 2 hours later, I'm like, I could eat something again, right? But it's not yet bedtime.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I've done. There's all the other, it's like, oh, drink water, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no, here's what I've done. I brush my teeth early.
Mm-hmm.
When I brush my teeth, I tell you psychologically, my body's like, it's going to be bedtime soon. And once I brush my teeth, I'm not saying it's like food will be, like suddenly vanish from your house. But what I'm saying is like when I go through the routine of brushing my teeth, psychologically and somewhat physically, I've never seen any study that ever, looks at this, but psychologically, my body is now no longer thinking about food. It's been weirdly powerful in my life is to just brush my teeth early. And it's sort of like I'm just kind of closing the door on the day, even if I'm going to be up for another hour and a half or 2 hours. And so that's just a bonus tip embedded deep into this episode for those of you that are still listening. So, okay.
Awesome.
But I love that. And going to bed early, super powerful. And we know getting full quality night's sleep also decreases cravings, particularly for sweet foods or simple carbohydrate foods during the day. We have studied that. We have seen that. Make sure you're getting a full night rest so that you're not technically tired during the day and your body is reaching for some of those simple carbohydrates, not necessarily because it's hungry, but because it's tired and it needs some quick shots of energy. So going to bed early, super powerful tip.
All right, great. Next one is track to see how much added sugar you are getting in a day and just work on decreasing the overall sweetness in your diet. So one example is plain yogurt mixed with flavored yogurt if you're used to the flavored yogurt. Or if you're used to the flavored oatmeal, mix the plain in the flavored together. So you're just decreasing the overall sweetness. And just looking at those labels, looking at buying the granola bar that has a little less added sugar, even if it's just 1 or 2 grams, that's half of a teaspoon right there. So the next one would be people's responses. I know we've done a topic on sugar substitutes before. I mean, a podcast on it. But people's responses to sugar substitutes vary. So I just don't want you to take someone else's word for it. I want you to get to know your body. If you have anything that has sugar substitutes, and notice, is it actually making me crave it more, or is it helping with my desire? So sometimes it increases your desire for sweet foods, and sometimes it actually just satisfies. Okay, it has some, Crystal Light lemonade that has the Splenda in it, and I feel great. I don't feel like I want something sweet, and the other person right next to you could feel like, okay, now I want a dessert.
Yeah.
So sugar substitutes in general have a higher sweetness level than sugar. So it just really depends on the person, on what your response would be.
That's a good one. Love that.
And the last one is just to practice the healthy relationship with desserts. When calories are accounted for, desserts do not automatically cause weight gain. I'll just say that one more time. So when calories are accounted for, they do not automatically cause weight gain. So we unfortunately have, based on our culture, these are bad foods, these automatically cause weight gain, and that is not true. So just get into a healthy relationship with desserts, and it just takes time. So we would be happy to help you with that.
Amazing. Yeah. And if we can help you with this or anything else, of course, we're always here. You can reach out to us on our website. Again, that's imagonutrition.com, IMAGO nutrition.com. We've got a big contact button up there in the upper corner at the bottom of the navigation menu, depending on if you're on a desktop or mobile. We're here. So if we can help sort through any of this or help get you on, a personalized plan so that you can continue to include all the foods that you love while pursuing and achieving and sustaining your body composition and health goals. We would love to help that, whether myself, Danielle, we are here for you. And so with that, thank you so much, Danielle. I think this is a particularly timely episode, but this is also a timeless episode because we might be in a bit of a heightened state right now coming off the holidays. But like you said, we're already ramping up to Valentine's Day, right? We're already, we're chances are most people listening to this are going to have a birthday at some point. We're going to have more holidays at some point. We're going to have vacations at some point, and that's all good and great. So we don't need to fear these things. We just need to pursue them mindfully. So if this episode has been helpful, or any other episode, we would love for you to subscribe so that you get notifications of upcoming episodes. Drop us a review. Let us know how we're doing. Share it with a friend that you like to discuss health and wellness issues with. We like to help as many people as for free. That's why we do this podcast. And if you're on social media, you can follow us on all the major platforms. We are at Imago Nutrition, at IMAGO Nutrition. And as always, we'd like to thank Happy Pill, the band, for our theme song, Thinkin Bout Food. Hope it's an amazing 2025 for you. We're here to help, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.